Actually, now talking about this, kind of going on to another topic now regarding the just the impact, the financial impact. We know the health crisis, and that's real. The economic crisis is also real. I saw an article yesterday saying that for the year 2020, tourist arrivals throughout the Caribbean was down 65%. Right. For the second quarter last year, April, May, June, it was down 97%. You know what I mean? So think of yeah, it's just a reality. We know that this pandemic matching up people in a bunch of ways, and that one is a very real one that I don't know how no Jamaican are giving out stimulus and all this. Jamaican have money to do all that. So for people who are in the travel business, or you run taxi, or that people are, it's having a real impact. You know what I mean? I know a few people in the transportation business in Jamaica who reach out to me like, things rough. Help me however you can, because nobody's come. This was things are kind of better now from that standpoint. That people are coming in more, but like the cruise line, that stopped cruise altogether. So people who are in those areas and depend on that business, it just sucks.
So they say when trouble catch you, picnic should fit you. Back in the day, right? We have a very unique climate, and we can go back to the basics, rethink the basics, and go back to that, because we're depending on tourism. Look at what's happening. Use our natural resources to be the mainstay for our economic crisis that they're heading into. We have the land, we have the climatic condition to produce certain crops and animals that they can use for export, because export is still relevant in some parts, and there are still things that, based on the ecological location of its production, people prefer that because of how it tastes versus somewhere else. So if we really step back and look at where we're coming from, we can go as far back as to TP Lekki, where we do the one pot meal. He bred animals, and he did the crops to go with it.
TP
Lekki, he developed the Jamaica Hope.
You know nothing about that.
I don't know, man.
But see, that's all agriculture stuff. So that's what they did to start alleviating Jamaica of some of the food crisis that they had back in I don't know what year.
So what time frame was this roughly? This man you're talking about?
In the 50s.
50s?
In the 50s, because he died when we were in college in Jamaica.
Okay. It's in the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we instead of completely depending on tourism the way we do, and start figuring out how do we, because they start doing stuff where they start encouraging more people to go into farming. So now they need to reform the co-ops that they can use that to get the stuff in, and then channel it out to the different countries. We have harsh winters in different parts of the world that they really can't produce anything. So we have the unique climate that we can actually capitalize on that.
All right. So when a crisis hits and we have to pivot and come up with new ideas. I think this is something that Jamaica and many other Caribbean countries in general have needed to do. Yes, tourism is very important. And it's not just the people coming in. A lot of other industries are, benefit from tourism. But, we've all known for a while that, we are too heavily dependent on tourism. And kind of at the whim of whatever happens in other countries. When people decide that they can't come from America, then our industry suffers. So, especially, you're the one who have expertise in this area. With that, a goal being to be more, sustain ourselves. What is lacking? Yes, we need to focus more on agriculture, I believe. What is necessary in order to get these other industries up to the point where it can be more of a benefit versus having to rely? Is it investment that's necessary? Is it focus? What do we need to do?
All of that, because before we can establish anything in Jamaica, we get finances out to the farmers, right? So investments are going to be very important. And then also, we have to also generate knowledge. We have to have people having a genuine trust and interest in farming. Then if you understand to select,
don't even go to farming because it's so wide. Yes, you have to produce the crops and stuff, and that's what you call farming. But what if? I mean, it's not just farming. And if we can take it from the standpoint to show how everything that we do is directly connected to agriculture versus just saying farming, because that's the mentality, not just in Jamaica, even here in America.
Yeah.
If we can recognize that the clothes that we wear is coming from cotton or some other grass that makes the fabric, we understand that the board that we use to make different parts of our house is coming from trees. All of that and they don't call forestry farming, but you still literally go and plant. So it's just a matter of getting that stigma that is on agriculture where it's dirty work, everybody wear dirty clothes and go to the field. That's not true. And until we can alleviate that stigma, we're not going to get people wanting to invest in it until they start dying of hunger and realize, you know what, I got to go juke something in the back so I can eat, because everybody's in the same boat.
I think a main part of it is investment, like what Speshi said, because agriculture in Jamaica is very basic. So we still
is not. I beg to differ. I was an extension officer, and that is not true.
It's not.
It is not.
It's not. But
comparatively speaking, comparatively speaking, I said comparatively speaking to who we are competing against, right? Like why Jamaicans are importing things we can make for ourselves.
No,
right? You know, the cost of production.
Once we become
mass produce like other countries.
Once we become self-sufficient, then we can help the small farmers. But on a larger scale, though, there are aspects of agriculture that can be improved, because I've seen some farms over here in the US, and I know that the US is a first world country and it is not comparable. But what I'm saying is, if we can harness some kind of investment for us to do similar things in our agricultural sector, then maybe more young people will want to become a part of the industry.
No, I don't think that is it, because
it's not the investment piece. It is not the investment piece.
The interest is what is the problem.
If you do not get somebody interested in doing something and they're intrinsically motivated, it doesn't matter how much money you put in there, it's not gonna work.
But the
literacy piece has to be the foundation. Right. And from the literacy piece, then you put investment in it. But you can't.
That's a long-term initiative, though.
Because
but you have to.
No, what I'm saying is, if you put investment first, right? If I decide I'm giving you $10,000 to do X, Y, Z, and you lose your crops,
it's not about giving me $10,000 to do X, Y, Z.
Just listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Because investment, you need some kind of a return on your money, right? So if I give you $10,000 and we have a hurricane, which we're prone to, and we've lost everything, what have you learned from you utilizing the resources that you have? What can you do to get back on your feet instead of looking for somebody else to invest in you? So it starts with literacy and not investment.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm in total agreement that the persons who are in the industry working the fields need to be educated. I am not averse to that. What I am saying is that if there were larger, let's say the 4 of us or the 5 of us here decided to develop an agriculture business in Jamaica.
Ganja farm, for example. Yes.
For example, a ganja farm, even though that is not really what we're talking about, but anything that we decide to do agriculturally, and we put in place a proper piece of land. We put in place the coolers. I don't know what the things are that they need, but sometimes I've gone into some businesses and I see them using some little shaded sectors, some little nurseries, things like that, and we set it up in a particular way that it doesn't look like dirty work. Then young people will be more interested to do it. Young people don't want to go out there and feel like they're digging with a fork and a shovel. That's the point I'm trying
So
to
you're saying the youth are
based
lazy?
on our topography, some areas in Jamaica, that is all you're going to get. You're not going to have anything else to use.
All right, especially what you're saying. You've been trying to talk for a while. Get the
this.
No,
like right now.
Clearly, she does not care about the subject at all. Go on, special.
Right now during COVID is the best time to get them interested because a lot of them they aspire to be a selector and selector now make no money enough, right? And farmers are make all that money enough because they still have to eat and people can't go out there. So this momentum they can use to educate the people and say, look, you will always make money no matter what go on in that country if you decide to choose agriculture and its extensions.
So put on your headphones and take out the machete.
Yeah, because
another thing too, based on the influx with the free trade for the market of goods and services.
Coming like the mute button top work.
Into Jamaica, it is more expensive to produce the stuff at home because, like my father, for example, he produces acres upon acres of potato each year, but yet every year we import, and the farmers who produce it there and have it to sell, theirs go to waste because they import it. So we have to cut off the imports that we're doing in Jamaica and utilize what we have. Eat what you grow. Jamaica Irish potato no taste no worse than the Irish potato from America.
But there are
guess
some
what?
trade
It's cheaper because of the glut that is elsewhere. They can actually mass produce and send it there on a cheaper. So until our government recognize what's happening and cut that down to a bare minimum and start utilizing the resources that we have, then it's gonna do better. Since COVID, they start having these markets where they gather the food from elsewhere and they go around and sell it to different sections in Kingston. And that's something that they should have been doing.
Have y'all seen the documentary Life and Debt?
I haven't seen it.
It covers the subject, Life and Debt. It essentially talks about Jamaica up on becoming an independent nation, providing for itself and what have you. Then they got into all this debt, right? As a result of that debt, the World Bank and IMF, whatever, they forced all the opening up these, removing all these trade barriers, and so that kind of it ties into all of this. So knowledge and education is very important. Investment is also really important. So they were talking to this one, banana or potato farmer. And they're talking about how comes down to the cost of production. And he said basically, them have machine, we have machete. So the amount that it costs us to produce cannot compare to what they can produce. And so that's why you have, McDonald's in Jamaica importing potatoes from Idaho. And so we thought investment is definitely part of this. It's not the only thing, but investment is definitely part of it because our cost of production is a lot higher than who we're competing against. So not going to solve this here and just reason in an hour, but many things, and a few of those things were discussed. Yes, it's good to bring some governmental policies also to, mandate certain things or give, breaks to buy local and that sort of thing. Maybe you don't say you have to buy from your local farmer, but if you do, you get a certain tax incentive or something like that. Those kind of policies to encourage businesses to buy locally. You know what I mean? But from a pure cost standpoint, agriculturally, we simply cannot compete with industrial powers in Brazil and the US who can produce it a lot cheaper. So that's what we're competing against. As a business who relies on agricultural products, if you can buy cheaper from elsewhere, I would love to give them a farm next door a break, but it costs twice the price or whatever. So that's what we're competing against. So many different things have to be done. I agree with the points about education and getting more people to understand it's more than just a farm, just tying it into many other different industries, clothing or furniture or what have you. That is like a longer term project, because we start now, but that's the dividends from that will show years down the line. But immediately, I think more investment and governmental policy is kind of where we, as far as a short-term thing to focus on, I think that's something that we should do. Especially last point on this before we.
Well, everything that you just said is correct. I mean,
thank you. We can end it now.
The only big problem we have, as Doc was saying, is the topography. We can't use the big machines because we just don't have the space for it. There's no way to operate it. And the few places that they use that we can use machines, they're really reserved for other what they consider more important products. So it's just a whole lot of restructuring would have to happen,
right.
And in terms of tax incentive, a whole lot of people down there still not paying none. So the incentive not really work.
On this subject, as there seems to be, passionate interest in the subject, I do recommend watching that documentary, Life and DEBT. It is an excellent documentary. It ties into a lot of what we've been talking about here.